Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Today, we have 3 brand new stories to tell you. The first one's about how our OP got revenge on his dishonest landlord. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Want to play that way, landlord? Okay. So I finally have my best petty revenge story to date. About 2 months ago, I had signed a lease agreement for an apartment with all utilities included for a year. The apartment itself had been nothing but a pain in the butt since the very get-go. Filthy, broken furniture, bugs everywhere. It was a borderline meth house, but we cleaned it up and made it livable, and I was finally satisfied until a call from my landlord who lives right above me. Before I get into detail, I should mention that my apartment is a basement-level brick house that's surrounded by trees. It gets very hot and stuffy and humid because of this, so I tend to leave my air conditioner on close to 24/7 because it's really my only source of air circulation. Windows are painted over and won't open, and you can already see where this is going. So in this phone call, my landlord says that he will make me a deal, and here's exactly what we're going to do, he said. I'll reduce your rent by $100 in exchange of you paying the electricity utility because it's costing me too much. I told him I'm not agreeing with that because that's not what I signed up for. And before you say, why don't you stop being a jerk, please understand that this place was so neglected and this is just one of the many problems dealt with this butthead. So, here's where my petty revenge kicks in. He told me that because I refused to sign the new contract, he'll not be renewing my lease in 10 months. I told him that was fine. He thought just the AC running was bad. Try all my lights when I'm gone, my TV, my surround sound, my Christmas lights. I'm feeling a little festive now. The AC, my fan, 2 refrigerators, and a partridge in a pear tree. Have fun with these bills, you neglectful jerk. Time to set a Bitcoin mining data center. And our second story. Following directions to adhere to company food safety procedures cost the company in excess of $25,000. Several years ago, I was working as the manager of the meat department in a large Australian supermarket chain. I'd been pulled up for minor issues relating to food safety in the past, mainly relating to temperature checks and cabinet cleaning. During the discussions about these issues, I was told, as well as recorded in writing, that the food safety guidelines are a legal document and are not up for negotiation or interpretation and must be adhered to the letter. Remember that quote. Fast forward to a few days before Christmas, my store was one of the busiest in the region, so the meat case and cool rooms were packed to the absolute max with stock, hams, roasts, turkeys, the whole works. It was the same store-wide, absolutely maxed out. Christmas in Australia is unlike most other places. It gets hot, damn hot. On this particular day, the temperature outside was pushing 45 degrees Celsius, approximately 110 Fahrenheit. Air conditioning and fridges were all working hard to keep everything cool, when suddenly, about 3 p.m., we have a store-wide blackout. Usually, we have a backup generator which would kick in and keep the cool rooms running, so that worst case, stock could be emptied out of the cabinets and into the rooms to keep it food safe. Well, for some reason, the generator didn't kick in, and the store was completely without power and running on emergency lighting only. We evacuated the store and were contacting technicians, etc., to get things running again. I checked the food safety guidelines book, and policy in such situations was to monitor the temperature of stock every 15 minutes, and if it ever reaches over 4 degrees Celsius and stays there for more than 2 hours, all affected stock must be discarded. Being such a hot day, the temperature had already breached the 4-degree upper limit when I did the first check, meaning the countdown was on to get things running again. I documented absolutely every step of the way, following the guidelines to the letter. At 4:45 p.m., with 15 minutes to go until the deadline, I went to the office and got a handheld scanner in preparation for what was to come, and was spotted by the store manager who asked what I was doing. I told him that I was getting it to begin dumping stock. We argued back and forth, with him saying that the stock would be fine and that a refrigerated truck was on the way to move everything into. It ended in me saying, the guidelines are legal documents. By ordering me to go against what they say, you're instructing me to break the law, which I am respectfully refusing. At 5 p.m., I began scanning off and dumping stock from my case. I'd already filled almost an entire dumpster with stock when the refrigerated truck turned up. The manager once again instructed me and the fellow department managers to take our now unsafe stock and move it into the truck. Everyone hesitated, but I flat out refused and continued dumping my stock. He eventually revoked my access to the handheld scanner in order to stop me, so I called the area manager, his boss, and explained the situation and what he had instructed. Area manager said although it was never public, there was actually some built-in wiggle room between the company policy and the legislated state code, and that although it breaches the company policy, the state food safety code hadn't yet been breached, but was furious that the store manager had instructed me to intentionally breach the company policy. I told the area manager that I'd been instructed and documented to follow the food safety guidelines to the absolute letter, and that the policy was non-negotiable and not up for interpretation. He agreed that I had done the correct thing by dumping the stock, but also agreed that I was within my rights to refuse the orders of the store manager, thinking they were illegal. All in all, I dumped about $25,000 worth of stock, and my team got a ton of overtime to bring the case and stock levels back up to presentable standard for Christmas. The manager got a very severe reprimand and was fired for an unrelated issue not long after. Crap managers won't last long in those places. Good on your district/area manager for getting your back. And our last story. Change my contract at the last minute? Better hire 2 to 3 people to do my job. I graduated from university 5 years ago, broke and desperate for a job. My background is in teaching. There were not that many good teaching jobs available in my city. For months, I literally lived off my credit card. Desperate for a job and willing to work anywhere, I finally got a sweet job offer from an international school that offered its educational services to rich families in China. I went from making $0 to being paid nearly $4,500 tax-free a month plus yearly bonuses. I signed a 1-year contract and moved to China. When I got there, I learned that the school was brand new, and even though they were making a decent profit, most of it was going back into an amazing marketing team responsible for getting more students, establishing new partnerships, and expanding to other cities. I had absolutely zero experience going into this, but due to my outgoing personality, I became effing amazing at my job. My background is in history, religion, and astronomy, but I ended up teaching English mainly. Since it was a new school, they didn't have an on-site principal, school counselor, exam proctor. My other colleague and I did all that work. Since the students' English was not that great, I did a lot of work to prepare my students to go and study in Canada. I didn't want my students to be one of those immigrants/foreign students that failed in their first year because they couldn't speak the language. I ended up doing a lot of the administrative work. I did this until 11 p.m., sometimes on weekdays, sometimes on the weekends as well. I remember taking a Sunday off, and it shocked me that I could not remember the last time I had a day off, let alone a weekend. I was promised a contract renewal when 9 months had passed. Leading up to it, I discussed how much my colleague and I had been working. We honestly felt like we deserved a raise. What happened caused my first professional career to end in a crappy way and for me to burn some bridges. Around the contract renewal period, the CEO of the company, or chairman, I forget, lots of unique terms thrown around in China, was contacted by a high school buddy of his that worked in HVAC and expressed to him that he wanted to invest in his international school. The guy had made a crap ton of money after China had opened up its markets to the rest of the world in the 90s. He had his own factory and provided HVAC services. He had thousands of people working for him, drove an expensive Lexus. So my boss sent me to his city a few hours from Beijing to demonstrate to prospective clients and their children what we offered. A month after this trip, which was also a month after my expected contract negotiation period, I get a call from my boss saying that they want me to relocate to his friend's city and jumpstart the new school. To help me in the move, I was told that they had to redo my contract and it would be comparatively better. I believed my boss and didn't think of it much, but saved that email and kept referring to it for weeks leading up to my departure date. But I began to worry when they gave me crappy excuse after I emailed and asked to please let me see the contract. I was 10,000 kilometers away from my own country. I had no choice but to put up with this crap. Finally, the night of my departure, I get the contract. My pay was reduced by about $1,000. No summer pay, no bonus, and a forced unpaid vacation. I did the math and my pay was reduced from nearly $60K with the bonus to about $42K. To add insult to injury, I didn't get my first year's bonus. After speaking to them for nearly 3 months about the crappy situation I was in and the unfairness of what had happened, I began to look for work elsewhere. I found a job in a neighboring country and packed up my crap and headed there when we were given 2 weeks holiday. When I got to the new country, I gave them an ultimatum. Give me the bonus I'd worked hard to earn, even gave them the option of donating it to charity as long as they provided me with proof, and restored my previous contract or I wouldn't come back. They were begging me to come back. They initially did not budge, but came back with a counteroffer to simply go to another school with my old contract. By then I was done, began my new job, and stopped responding to their emails. My colleagues in both of the cities that I'd worked at told me that after I left, they had to hire 2 new teachers to take over my job and responsibilities in the first city that I'd worked in, and then 2 more teachers to do my job in the second city that I had worked in. All they had to do was pay me maybe 5 or 6/10 of whatever they were paying 2 of those teachers to keep me happy. Instead, they took the crappy route. Now they had to pay 2 teachers to cover my responsibilities. I don't feel good about what happened, but I was not going to be taken advantage of. I went above and beyond for those a-holes, and they thought it made sense to acknowledge my efforts by reducing my pay and screwing me out of my bonus. I hope they're happy paying the $100,000 to get the same work done. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.